Okay, I'm going to kick off. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's ChatGPT for Work 101 webinar, a guide to your AI super assistant. My name is Lois, and I am your host today. I'm a customer education specialist at OpenAI, so no surprises here. I use ChatGPT every single day. I've designed this session as a foundation to get you started. And my hope is that you leave with an understanding of what multimodality is, the difference between GPT 4.0 and o1, how to navigate the interface to customize your settings, and how to prompt to get the best output from ChatGPT. A little bit of housekeeping. I am joined by several of my OpenAI colleagues who will be moderating and answering your questions from the Q&A feature, which is to the right of your screen. And of course, you will be sent a recording of today's session tomorrow. Before I jump in and start sharing my screen and demoing ChatGPT, I want to talk a little bit about OpenAI's mission. OpenAI's mission is to bring safe, artificial general intelligence to all of humanity. And we want that artificial intelligence to deeply benefit humanity. So we've created advanced AI models like GPT 4.0, which is our flagship multimodal model, and more recently o1, which has been designed for deeper reasoning. I want to now show off GPT 4.0, and I want to showcase multimodality. So what do I actually mean when I say multimodal capabilities? Really, all that means is that GPT 4.0 can process and understand text, images, audio, and data. And that ability makes ChatGPT really great for a lot of work-based use cases. For example, it's going to be great at generating text in any role. It's going to be awesome at analyzing some images, processing data files if you are running any analysis, browsing the web if you are completing some research, and you can even now interact with ChatGPT with your voice. Okay, let's jump across into ChatGPT and actually showcase these abilities. In my first demo, I am going to upload some text as a prompt, and I'm going to ask a very simple question of ChatGPT. First, what you'll notice is in my ChatGPT interface, the chat window occurs in the center of the screen. So this is typically how I engage in a conversation with ChatGPT. And what you'll notice is the default model when you come into an enterprise or a team environment, it will be automatically selected on GPT 4.0. What I'm going to do is ask a very simple request of ChatGPT. Help me generate innovative ideas for the next team building offsite as a list of bullet points. If you've worked with ChatGPT before, you'll know that ChatGPT is very good at responding with a text-based response and is very good for ideating and brainstorming on certain tasks. Here we have a lot of creative suggestions that is going to help us think about potential ways to structure this offsite. The one thing I love about ChatGPT is it is very responsive to your request for a certain type of output. So what I mean by that is ChatGPT has responded and provided bullet points. But if I wanted this information, for example, in a table, I could simply express that in the prompt. And I'm going to talk about prompts a little bit later on, what they are and how you structure them. But essentially, a prompt is any time we are asking for information from ChatGPT, we are asking a question. It's really just a way to engage with an AI model. What we've just shown is text-based input gets me text-based output. What I'm going to do now is showcase the search capability within ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is now connected to the web, specifically GPT 4.0, And when I upload a prompt and I toggle on the search capability, ChatGPT is able to go out to the web, collect information in real time, bring it back into the chat interface to help answer that prompt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this specific prompt. And I'm going to ask ChatGPT to come back with some suggestions for some offsite venues. You can see that I'm being quite specific about my requirements, how many people this offsite needs to cater to, and a couple of specifications about the location. To make sure that ChatGPT does search the web, you need to toggle on Search the Web. And when you do that, these two icons will turn blue. When I send this across, you'll notice straight away that ChatGPT actually tells you what it is doing. It is searching the web, it is looking for suggestions for this on-site. And then what I really love about this example is you can see that we have a nice comprehensive map view, and all of the suggestions can be scrolled through. So I'm actually able to zoom in and out of this map to understand where these venues are. The other thing I love about using ChatGPT to search the web is that ChatGPT identifies all of the sources that were searched to get this information. That means if you are doing a piece of research at work in a work-based setting, you can understand all of the sources and actually go and explore those sources in more detail. So if you are completing a piece of research, you're trying to understand a topic in more detail at work, you want to understand how to prepare for a customer call or the types of trends in a specific industry or market, using ChatGPT to search the web is going to significantly reduce the amount of time you spend manually researching by running something like a Google search. Okay, just quickly, what I want to do is show you a brief follow-up response. So ChatGPT has given me a ton of helpful suggestions, but I now want ChatGPT to search the web and specifically identify from the options it has provided me with the two best options based on the highest reviews. And there we have the two top-rated venues with an email address and a website and also a phone number. I'm able to contact these venues straight away to help me book and organize this team offsite. Okay, I want to move away from communicating with ChatGPT with just text. Instead, let's engage ChatGPT in a voice conversation. So using the same offsite scenario, let's imagine I'm now presenting at the offsite. So I need to plan my presentation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask ChatGPT for some assistance with this task using only my voice. Now to do that, what I need to do is I click on Use Voice Mode, and that is going to open an interactive view where I can kick off this voice interaction. Hi, ChatGPT, are you there?
Hi, Lois. Yes, I'm here. How can I help you today?
So I'm planning to present a program of work at an upcoming offsite. There is a lot of leadership, it's a huge number of people, and I really want this presentation to go well, and I want to deliver my program in a really engaging way. I have a 10-minute slot. How would you suggest I approach a presentation like this?
For a 10-minute presentation to a large leadership audience, start with a strong opening to grab attention, maybe a compelling anecdote or a surprising fact. Then clearly outline the key points of your program, focusing on what matters most to them. Visual aids can help keep things engaging. Finally, wrap up with a strong conclusion and a clear call to action. Keep it concise and impactful. Does that help?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, ChatGPT.
You're welcome. If you need any more help with your presentation, just let me know. Good luck.
So what you've seen there is I was able to engage in a quick voice conversation with ChatGPT. So rather than typing out my prompt, I was able to voice my prompt, or I was able to have a conversation. And what I love about voice is that when the interaction closes, the entire conversation is captured in this window here. So that means that you can re-engage ChatGPT in a conversation that you had a couple of weeks ago even, and you can pick up where you left off. You can also copy and paste or export the chat and take it elsewhere as well. Great. So what I've just shown you is text-based input and getting a text-based output, leveraging the search capability to help you with research activities. And now we've just used our voice to simulate and prepare for a really important meeting or interaction. So whenever I'm talking about these scenarios, I really want you to reflect on your day-to-day. How can you be modifying these scenarios that I am showing you and then tailoring them to you and your role? For example, could you use voice to help you prepare for an upcoming meeting or maybe even a customer call? Okay, so let's come on to my next multimodal demo. So we are moving away from voice and we're now talking about vision. So ChatGPT has the ability to analyze images and then it's able to provide clear text-based summaries. Again, sticking with the theme of planning this offsite, what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload an image from a whiteboard session that we had at this offsite that outlines a retrospective. To do that, I go to Attach Files. I upload the image I want ChatGPT to analyze, and then I'm going to add in a very basic prompt. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to summarize this image. Just to expand, this is what the image looks like. There is a lot of text, and really I'm trying to get ChatGPT to tell me what is happening in this image and to almost list it out. And there you can see that ChatGPT has done a really great job of identifying what is in this image and then pulling out the text. This is quite a basic example of how to use vision. But again, what are you doing in your day-to-day that would allow you to use ChatGPT in this way? Are you also creating whiteboard images? Are you analyzing really complex diagrams? What is it that you're doing that maybe you could replicate in a similar way to what I've just shown you? Okay. All right. So moving on to the last multimodal demo, I now want to talk about generating images from text. One thing you will notice throughout my demos today is that when I jump around and I switch topics and I'm asking something new of ChatGPT, I am always triggering a new chat. Now, I am doing that because I am switching topics and I am making new requests of ChatGPT. So top tip from me today, please make sure that you trigger a new chat every time you are switching requests or changing topic. This just ensures that all of the chats remain very specific and that the answers you get are specific to your request. Great. What I'm going to do now is I am going to ask ChatGPT to create an image that is really creative. So I'm asking for ChatGPT to create a close-up image of an eye with a vibrant landscape or a universe beautifully reflected in the iris. Now, sure, this is not necessarily a business related prompt, but what I'm trying to show you here is that ChatGPT is also very good at helping to inspire creative activities and tasks. Let's see what ChatGPT generates for us. Sometimes with ChatGPT, you need to wait anywhere from 10 to 20 seconds. And we can see there a very creative, beautiful image of an eye. And I really love this example. It's very simple, but I've been highly specific and I've received an image that quite frankly is incredibly creative. One thing to note, and this is really important, large language models are non-deterministic. So that means models like GPT-4o will not give you the same output twice if you use the same prompt twice. So let me show you exactly what I mean by that. I ran this demo a little bit early on, and you can see that I used exactly the same prompt, but the image that I got back was different. And so you can expect to get really similar style images, but you should not expect to get the same image every time. And so this randomness is actually built into the model. This is a feature, not a bug. So you should expect to see slight differences with every output that gets generated. Great. So what we've just done is we have spent the last 15 minutes looking at GPT-4o and really unpacking the term multimodality. So I really hope that in the last series of demos, you're able to see that you can interact with ChatGPT in different ways. You can upload different input like images. You can talk to ChatGPT. You can get a search of the internet, and that is going to support you with a huge number of use cases. I now want to move on to talk about O1. So when we come back up to the model selector and we click on the drop-down option and we select O1, you'll see that that flipped the model and we're now able to engage with O1. But what does that actually mean? So OpenAI's O1 is an advanced reasoning model that has been designed specifically for solving very complex problems with clarity and precision. So unlike GPT-4o, which is pretty responsive, very quick, O1 takes extra time to deliver more thoughtful and detailed responses. And it does this by building a chain of thought, which makes some of its reasoning more transparent and easier to verify. So I want to be quite clear that O1 is going to excel in areas like math, strategy, coding, and logistics, and also scientific problems as well. And so I would really encourage you to think about when you come to ChatGPT, what is the problem or the task in hand? If it's pretty straightforward, everyday business use cases like help me with this writing task or analyze this file, GPT-4o is 9 times out of 10 the best model to use. If, on the other hand, you are working in logistics, operations, strategy, maybe even finance, and you're looking to complete a very complex task that involves figures, percentages, projections, think about maybe testing with O1. But again, to reiterate, 9 times out of 10, GPT-4o is going to work perfectly. So I do just want to make it quite clear that these are two different models and they have been designed to help you as users achieve two different outcomes. What I'm going to do in this demonstration is I'm going to upload a rather complex prompt for a pretty complex scenario, just to show you how different they are. So in this demo, let's imagine that I work for a mid-sized manufacturer and I'm trying to decide between two investments. So one investment is me considering modernizing an assembly line to achieve 20% more output. And the option number 2 is about investing in a digital marketing strategy to help grow sales by 5%. What I am trying to do is I'm trying to get ChatGPT to help me model and predict kind of both of those two scenarios and help me understand the return on investment if I was to choose either one. So let's just take a step back because this is a very real scenario that we do in business all the time. But to actually model these scenarios, it would take multiple humans, multiple days, or even weeks to try and predict and plan to identify which scenario they should go with. And so what we're doing is we're leaning on O1 to help us with these projections, to allow us to understand some fallback strategies, but also to help us tackle things like pricing, marketing trends, logistics, and being able to summarize this all in a clear roadmap for leadership. Let me show you exactly what I mean by that. And I'm not going to read this prompt word for word. You can actually grab this prompt in the prompt pack, which you can find in docs in the webinar itself. Essentially here, I'm kind of talking about who I am, which is I'm a finance manager and I'm working for this manufacturer. I'm looking at these two scenarios and I'm trying to understand which one is best, which one should we invest in to get a higher ROI. We've then added or been very explicit that the board expects a 15% return on investment within 12 months and requires a fallback plan if these initiatives underperform. I need to deliver a well-reasoned recommendation that addresses these projections, resource allocations, and key risks. Okay, enough of me talking. Let's see what O1 does. Straight away, you'll see that it tells you that it is actually thinking. So O1 has identified that it thought for 11 seconds, and it's now provided a structured recommendation that considers ROI, resource allocation, key risks, and some fallback alternatives. We also have a really lovely executive summary that outlines these two scenarios. If we scroll down, we can see the ROI projections for option 1 and option 2 with some key figures and percentages as well. We then can see how O1 has modeled through the resource allocation strategy against each option. And then we have a clear key risks and mitigation section, the alternative strategies, and then a recommendation. So this is incredibly comprehensive. ChatGPT has come an incredibly long way from just being able to answer very basic questions. We're now able to partner with a reasoning model like O1 to really map out and model some incredibly complex scenarios that previously would have taken a number of humans multiple days. This is a very, very powerful use case. And there we have a pretty robust conclusion. And in summary, the digital marketing strategy is simpler, requires a smaller outlay, and still exceeds the 15% ROI target. So this type of activity is going to be kind of expedited when we use O1. Okay, moving away from O1 and 4O, I do want to help you navigate the interface. So let's talk about that briefly in the next couple of minutes. I'm then going to move on to talk about Canvas, which is the ability to partner with ChatGPT on writing and code. And then we're going to wrap up today with some tips about prompting. Okay, let's talk about the interface briefly. So we've spoken about the chat window, and we've spoken about adding prompts. And we're also now clear that when we come to the model selector at the top, we can also identify the model that we would like to interact with based on the task in hand. One thing to note is that on the left-hand side, all of my chats are stored. So if I ever want to go back, re-engage in a chat, I can. And I also have the ability to rename a chat, delete a chat, or also add a chat to a project. I'm going to talk about projects and GPTs in next week's 102, and we're actually going to build a project and we're going to build a GPT. But just at a high level, projects are a great way to organize chats that fall under the same topic. So again, if you had multiple chats going for a specific project, say for example, campaign analysis, you can then drag and drop all of these chats that relate to that topic into that project. Really great way to keep your ChatGPT space organized. GPTs are essentially customized assistants. They allow you to do a task over and over again. So you provide the GPT with very specific instructions and it's able to automate a task. Again, I'm going to go into the GPT store and GPTs next week. Okay, we have the search icon up here, which allows you to search for keywords in specific chats. So if you can't remember what your chat was called, but you can remember the topic, this is a great way to go back and find that chat. If we come to the top right and we look at the circular avatar, what we'll see is the environment that we're working in. So this is our workspace. A couple of settings that I want to bring your attention to. So the first is customize ChatGPT. If there is one thing that you do today, please, please do this. This is where you can tell ChatGPT more about you so that the responses that you get are more specific to you. Now, I don't know if anyone remembers, but when I triggered a voice conversation earlier today and ChatGPT said, "Hi, Lois," that is because I've told ChatGPT that I want it to call me Lois. I'm also explicit about what I do, so I've added in my job role, and I've spoken about the traits that I value most. And I've also identified my specific role, the company that I work at. So please, if there is one thing that you do today, customize your ChatGPT because I'm telling you that you are going to get more specific responses that are relevant to you and your role. Okay, perfect. Let's move on to settings. So coming down into this view here, just a few things to note. If you ever want to archive or delete chats, you can do that from this view here. And in personalization, you can also toggle on and off memory. Now, similar to customizing instructions, if you have memory toggled on, that means that ChatGPT is going to remember some specific things about you so that future chats are more personalized to you. Now, please note, slight caveat, everything you're seeing here is in my view and in my workspace. Your company admin may have some of these capabilities or features turned on and off. So if you're not seeing everything that I am seeing, I would encourage you to reach out to your ChatGPT admin to ask them if that capability or that setting is available. Great. Okay, what I want to do now is I want to talk about the toolkit. So the toolkit can be found in the chat window. And this toolkit is going to offer some additional capabilities. Oh, and we're just in O1, so top tip from me, make sure that you're in 4.0 if you want to access the full toolkit. O1, we're still working through O1, and O1 doesn't have access to everything that 4.0 does. So let's come down to the toolkit, and specifically, I want to talk about Canvas. So Canvas is an interface for real-time collaboration with ChatGPT for writing and coding tasks. What it does is it actually reduces the back and forth when you're trying to get a colleague to review your documents, and it is going to proactively offer suggestions and feedback to help you with writing tasks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a blog post that I've been working on, and I'm going to ask Canvas to provide some feedback and to help me with this piece of writing. First of all, I'm going to add in a prompt. So I've toggled on Canvas and you'll see that it's now in the chat window. And I'm going to ask for some feedback on this blog post. I'm then going to break this out and I'm going to enter in the raw text of the blog post into the window here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send that across and you'll see that this interactive view here suddenly changes. And then the blog post is being pulled into a single view in the center. And so what I can do is I can now engage with a conversation with ChatGPT on the left and ask for specific things. And ChatGPT is actually going to edit all of this text in this main view here. And you can see as well that you yourself, whenever you highlight text, you can either ask ChatGPT to do something, or you can change aspects of the written word. For example, I could ask ChatGPT to reduce the blog post by 10 words. Let's imagine I have a word limit and I need some help doing this. ChatGPT is going to go through and take out the unnecessary words for you. The other thing that you can do is you can go down to the bottom right and click on Suggest Edits. So this is where ChatGPT is really going to act as your thought partner. It is going to go through the blog and it is going to make some suggestions for what could be better. So this is a real world example of me getting some partnership with ChatGPT and some support on a document that I am writing. Then what I can do, if I like these suggestions, the same as asking a colleague to help you out, I can click apply and those changes are going to be made directly to that blog post. Okay, and just to cover off some of the other settings here, I can adjust the length. So if I actually want to expand the blog post or make it more detailed, I can do that. I can adjust the reading level. So say, for example, I'm talking to a very, like a different audience and I want to increase the complexity of the language. I can also do that. And again, you need to give ChatGPT a little bit of time. Sometimes it takes a while to go through and actually make these edits. And you can see there that actually by changing the audience and the reading level, it has actually increased the length there. I don't love those changes, so I'm going to go to the previous version. So that's something to bear in mind when you're working with Canvas, is you can actually select the previous version and it will take you back. I'm then going to click on restore this version. And then finally, I am going to add final polish, which is going to get it ready to go public online. And just very quickly, if you want to add in some emojis for some fun, you can also do that. One thing I'll note is that Canvas, incredible for coding. So if you are an engineer right now and you want ChatGPT to act as a pair programmer, simply grab the code that you're working on, paste it into the chat window, select Canvas, and then you will actually have an option that sits down in the right-hand corner that allows you to debug code and get suggestions as well. So it's exactly the same format and interface, but it is incredible for code. So please, please, if that is your use case, test it out. Great, so what we have is a blog post, it's ready to go. But something that's really important, we obviously love that ChatGPT can now help you and can partner on your work. But as with all things in ChatGPT and with any AI model, they can make mistakes. So it's always worth getting your final version and having a colleague or a human always review the work before you send it on. And this is something that we call human in the loop. Humans should always be driving the output of AI models, and that's no different in ChatGPT. So please make sure that you're checking the work before you send it on. Perfect. So what I'm going to do now is move on to really the last section today. I'm just going to spend 5 minutes giving you some top tips and tricks for prompting with ChatGPT. Now that you understand what's possible and how to navigate and the types of input that you can upload into ChatGPT, it's really important that we discuss how to communicate with ChatGPT. And so to clarify, a prompt is a simple question or an instruction that you give to ChatGPT. Prompting is all about crafting and refining the language that you use to get the best results from AI models. This concept is also referred to as prompt engineering, but I just want to stress that you do not need a technical background to be good at prompting. In fact, quite the opposite. Prompting is simply just good communication. And I think probably the most important thing I will tell you today is that you should be thinking about communicating to ChatGPT in the same way you would a human. So if you want ChatGPT to be a helpful assistant and to help you on a bunch of work use cases right now, you should be talking to ChatGPT in the same way you would a colleague. So to be clear, humans respond best to clear, concise, and specific instructions if they are to perform a task well. And that is exactly the same for ChatGPT. The more context you provide, the more clarity, the more you give, the more you get. And so, to really wrap up today, a prompt requires two things. There's a lot of fancy frameworks out there, but I would recommend that you just stick to these two things for now: context and expectation. So let me show you what I mean by that. Context is really telling ChatGPT who you are, what you do, and the task that you're working on. It's telling ChatGPT enough about you so that it understands the task in hand. And again, having your custom instructions and things like memory turned on is a way to give ChatGPT additional context about you to get better responses. So that's context. Expectation is about being very clear with ChatGPT about what you are looking to achieve. Do you want to analyze a report and get a specific output? Do you want ChatGPT to give you bullet points or a table? Do you want a very specific piece of analysis done against a specific data set? That is really giving ChatGPT some guardrails or some guidelines. That is going to help steer the model to the output that you are looking for. To showcase this, what I'm going to do is I am going to add in a very basic prompt. I'm going to say, summarize this research paper. I'm then going to add in a rather complex research paper. And what I should expect with a prompt like this is to get a very generic high-level response. And in some scenarios, that's great. In some scenarios, that is what we are looking for. We want a high-level overview, and in which case then that prompt is absolutely fine. But quite often when we're doing a task, we're doing something very specific in order to get a specific outcome. So what we've got is a summary of this research paper, an overview, some key contributions, a conclusion. It's very helpful to get a snapshot of what is going on in that research paper. But let's take this one step further. I want to now show you the best version of a prompt to yield a really specific response. So again, I'm going to do the same thing with the paperclip icon. I am going to upload this research paper. And then I'm going to tell ChatGPT more about the task in hand. In this example, I'm saying that I am a researcher analyzing a paper on computational geometry. And I'm specifically looking at the concept of geometry images for surface representation. Attached is a paper that includes various figures and diagrams. I need a detailed breakdown of each image, including its context, key features, and relevance to the concepts discussed in the paper. Okay, this is quite a complex scenario, but can you see how specific you need to be and how much you need to tell ChatGPT about your task to get a great output? So I'm this researcher, I have this paper, there's a very specific thing I want out of the paper, which is to understand the images within that paper. And I want to understand kind of the relevance at large. This type of prompt is going to get me a very, very different response. And one thing that is incredible now about ChatGPT is ChatGPT can not only just analyze text within a document, it's also going to be able to analyze images as well. So you no longer have to separately upload images to get a response. You can actually upload the file itself, and ChatGPT will analyze everything within that file. So to recap, what we've got here is now a really specific response about these specific images. That is that's a completely different response to what we got in the first request. And if we scroll down, you can see ChatGPT has identified the figure, the very specific page, and has done this for each figure. And so for me doing this task as this researcher, this is incredibly helpful. So to recap, if you are engaging in a conversation with ChatGPT and you are adding a prompt, make sure that the prompt has a lot of context or enough context about you and the task in hand, and that you are being clear about your expectation. You are clearly defining the output that you are looking for. And that really kind of comes to the end of the session today. So I hope that that was helpful. And I hope that you got a lot of suggestions and ways that you can use this for work. But I just want to recap. Today, we have covered multimodality using 4O. We've looked at complex problems with O1. We've navigated the interface, and I've taught you how to trigger something like Canvas. And we've also been prompting to get information, and those prompts really need to have context and expectation. In next week's 102, I'm going to be diving into projects and we're going to be building a GPT together. So please sign up if that's something that's of interest. So thank you so much. I would love for you to take a minute to fill out a survey to give us some feedback. And of course, we hope to see you back here next week for 102. Thank you so much for your time.